Hi, folks. With Tacitus today, your pushback channel, and thank you for joining this audio live stream. I just want to talk about some of the things that piss me off and piss off pretty much everyone I know in regard to mass migration. Now, just same all over the Western world, mass migration is being forced on the local population and is in direct defiance of what the local population wants. And it's all across the Western world at the same time. So it's clearly a globalist cabal gig. But the numbers coming into Australia are just off the charts. You know, the last 2 years have been over 1 million people brought in, most of them from India, and you know, places that 2 years ago didn't have, you know, were 99.9% white, now are 50-60% Indian. Just overnight this has happened. It's insane. And yet this is going on. House prices, rents are out of control, but the government is showing no signs of backing off. In fact, they're doubling down. And clearly they're completely controlled and captured by the globalists. They don't represent the people at all and haven't for quite some time. Now, what are the practical, other than the high cost of living and so on, but what are the practical sort of manifestations of this? Now, recently I took a train into the public transport, a train into the CBD of Sydney. And it's not so bad when you're in the outer suburbs, but as soon as you start to move in closer, even the outer ring of the middle distance suburbs, the train stops at the platform, and you're lucky to see even one white face. That's how bad it is now in Sydney, in Australia. Now, there are, as you start to get closer into the city, frequently I'm the only white person on the train carriage. One white person, the whole train carriage, me. The rest are all brown and black, mostly brown and black. And you go, this can't be happening now. On the train, they've got announcers that say this is the train station coming up, and if you want to get this or that train line or whatever, then you need to get off at this train station to get these different train services heading off into the rural areas and so on. So now the first announcer had an Indian accent so thick that you couldn't understand. Now, because I know where it's going and what stations the train is going to stop at, I can sort of listen and go, I wonder what that person meant. Okay, and I can kind of work out what they're saying, but only because I know really approximately what's going to be said anyway. If I didn't know that, then I'd be screwed. I couldn't understand. The accent is that thick. Now, the next announcer that came on the train had a thick African accent. And again, barely understandable. The third announcer, again an Indian, slightly better, but the first one was a woman. The next one was an African man, then an Indian man, but again, heavy accent, recently arrived, and a thick accent, and you really had to listen to understand what they were talking about. This is a train in Sydney, Australia. So here's what galls me. They couldn't find someone that speaks understandable English. No, that's simply not true. Of course they could have found someone, but so they're putting it on you. It's being forced on you. Someone that can't speak English is making an announcement in pidgin English that no one can understand. Now, that's not an accident. That just didn't happen. That's not organic. They don't go, I know, let's make sure the announcements are made in language or words that no one can understand. They're making the decision, we're going to push diversity on you. You fucking damn Nazis. We're going to push some diversity on you. And so this is being deliberately done. It's not an accident. Now, let's go to the other side and say, well, what if this was again? What if they placed adverts for weeks or months for people to work on the trains and no one who spoke English turned up? Well, no one who spoke English, the first language, turned up. Then that would be organic and natural that they were putting these people in. But in a country like Australia, where English is the language, that would not have happened. It simply would not have happened. If I go to India, or I go to somewhere other part in the world, parts of Malaysia and even parts of Singapore for that matter, and I have to really listen to the announcements that are being made, and because I can't understand the local dialects, but I don't expect that in Sydney. They don't get crisp Queen's English being spoken in all these other places. Why do we have to tolerate unintelligible English being spoken in Sydney, Australia? I mean, again, there's nothing natural or organic about it. If it was natural and organic, I would accept it as well. That's how it is. The only people that apply for these jobs are ones that can't speak English. Then that would be natural and organic. I may not like it, and I may think, well, shouldn't they give these people elocution lessons? I may think that, but I wouldn't think it was being forced on me. I would see that as natural again. Would have much less of a complaint. But it's not that. It's being forced. There are plenty of people that speak excellent English they could have used to make the announcements, but they chose not to. It is a deliberate choice to put people that don't speak English onto making these announcements. A deliberate. They could easily put people who speak good English in these, easily, but they chose not to, and it's deliberate policy to do that, and that really pissed me off. As in, it's unnecessary and being forced, not organic, not natural. It's being contrived and forced. So the migrants that are, or the non-white people who are on the train, a lot of them are going into work at those fast food places and takeout food places and so on, where there's a slave labor, an imported slave labor thing on businesses, to work in businesses that are simply not viable without the slave labor. So they're coming into and a lot of them are under 5 foot tall. I mean, they're literally midgets, legally midgets. They're between sort of 4'8" to sort of 4'10". That's sort of, a lot of them. They all seem to have physical handicaps of one sort or another, but while they're young they can probably get past, but by the time these people get into their 40s, they're going to be screwed with knees and hips and back problems. As you can see now, the way they walk, you can tell they've got some serious health problems, probably acquired childhood through coming from a dirt poor third world country. They got rickets and goodness knows what that they're going to have to somehow work through as they get older. Again, you can sort of bypass these things a bit when you're younger and you've got that young person's health, but move past that and these people are going to have serious health problems. They're presumably going to be paid for by the Australian taxpayer. so that also annoys me. If you want to bring people in as migrants, bring in people that can produce more than they consume, that can fit in, can get a job that allows them to pay more than they consume. These don't allow them to access medical, free medical care and free government programs of every imaginable type. Give them free rail pass, public transport, because they can travel all around for free. Well, the citizens have to pay, and don't do that. Just don't bring those sort of people in. They're not productive. They bring nothing. They bring nothing to the table. They're simply parasites. Now, because they come from a third world country, they're probably illiterate in their own language, for goodness sakes. So they don't have the sophistication to understand the wider economic impact. All they see is, you guys are giving me free stuff, I'll take it. And why not? If you're there, why not? So these people are just everywhere. So I'm looking at all these physically handicapped midget people who are third world peasants that don't speak English and again are illiterate in their own language, and thinking, why are these people even being brought in? What are they doing? The only work they're doing is to keep on artificial life support businesses and sections of the industry that are unsustainable in the real world. These businesses cannot exist if they pay the proper wages and meet the proper health standards and these sort of things. So this idea of bringing in mass peasants to work as slave labor, I mean, is that desirable for anybody, really? They may like it, coming from a third world, mud hut peasants, so they may like it, but it achieves nothing outside of that. Now, as I was going along to the, I had some meetings to go to, and as I was coming back through a section of the city, Sydney, this is a section of the city where there's quite a lot of financial firms and big consulting firms like Pricewaterhouse, places like that. And they have this large outdoor cafe area, which is sort of used as a de facto meeting rooms for these buildings around the place. There's quite a lot. It's got to be 200 meters long and little alcove type outdoor. This is alcove type things. So there must be, I don't know, considering both sides of the mall, probably 40 odd of these little sort of meeting, cafe, outdoor meeting little places. And as I was walking past, I was thinking of something else. I was off in the clouds, and I looked and I noticed that, as far as I could tell, every little alcove was occupied, having a meeting, and every one had a brown or a black person as the boss and white people as the subordinates. Now, again, if that was natural or organic, I wouldn't mind. If that naturally, if the black African was naturally the brightest, skilled, most qualified person, I wouldn't mind. That's how it should be. Meritoriously, that person's the most qualified, the most experienced, the most credentialed, and so on. But the amount of these alcoves that I passed by that had Indian chic, Brahmin looking, they had that, but having that sort of Gujarati, Punjabi type patter that these people, these women have, and they talk with a certain pattern. That they talk like that. So and so as I slowed down. In fact, I doubled back and slowed down, so walked past it again, pretended to be making a phone call so I could stand close to them and hear. So here's this Brahmin. She's got 3 or 4 white guys. 2 of them look gay. The other 2 look like soy boys. And they were, I reckon if she said, "Look, I'm going to get out a whip and whip you boys for being naughty," they'd have all complied. They had that look about them, total submission to her greatness and superiority. So I listened to her. Now, she speaks with a very thick Indian accent. She's only arrived recently. She certainly wasn't born here. And if she has been here for any amount of time, she's hanging around exclusively with other Indians. But she's got a job in a white country. She's been given a supervisory role where she can boss around white men. She must go orgasmic on that one, and so appeared to be from what I could see. And so she's issuing her instructions with a smug, condescending smile. So she would just, and then they would all, "Oh yes, big boss, great big boss." And so I was watching it. It's sad to see this. Is this how far we've gone? How far we've fallen? Seriously? Now, if the in this case Indians, if the Indians were bringing over, they were the most advanced technological outfit in the world, and they were bringing great leading edge technology with them, as the white people did when they went to India. Then you go, okay, well, that's one thing. They're bringing a lot to the table. These people are bringing the most advanced technology in the world to Australia, and Australia is benefiting from this advanced, organizational structures, technology, commercial, double column accounting, or whatever. They're bringing advanced technology of the day to Australia. Then that's one thing. Or they're the most brilliant geniuses in the world. So we're bringing their genius into the world. We benefit from that. That would be organic. That would be natural. But instead, no, these people are just being brought in fresh off the plane or off the boat, being brought into the West, given supervisory roles over white people, all because of race, gender quota bullshit. And I doubt if this chick, from the way she's behaving, has ever had a job in her life. She'd be about 30, I guess. She comes from a well-to-do family where she swans around looking and sounding important and kick-ass, but not doing any work. She comes to Australia and is just gifted a job, and a supervisory job at that, and over straight white, not straight, they're not white males. So she's now convinced she's not a demigod anymore. She's actually a god, and was behaving that way. So as I went up and down, I just sort of walked around to take it all in. And this was pretty much the gig all over. Now, again, my concern here isn't that the brown people are in charge. I don't care. It doesn't fuss. If they are the most credentialed and qualified, fine. That's natural, it's organic, it's beneficial. They are the best. They are the best qualified. They should be in those jobs, these supervisory roles, if indeed they are the best. But it's not that. Far from it. This is being imposed brutally, aggressively, and cruelly imposed on us by the globalists, the wider globalist cabal. There's nothing organic or natural about it. This is all race, gender, quotas being forced on us without our agreement or consent. So not only are we getting the mass migration without our consent, we're getting this artificial restructuring of the workforce, the education system, the fucking government services system, all around this bullshit race, gender, quota, affirmative action, DEI. Nothing natural or organic about it at all. This is the rub. This is what rubs me up. And I don't mind. And I haven't been in a situation, not once, by the way, have I been in any business situation where the brown and the black people that I've had to interact with could be considered as possibly, probably, or even remotely the best qualified for that role. It is clear and manifestly obvious that white people are being bypassed and discarded simply to put the brown person in the job. And again, there's nothing organic or natural. This is pure destruction. And it's not serving our purpose or anyone's for that matter at the end of the day. Are they benefiting, these parasites? Well, sure. But the reality is that the overall wealth of the society, this is Western white society, is being diminished to such a point where these folks, once they've parasited off the host, which is what they're doing, they'll just have to find another host because there'll be nothing left for them to take because they're not contributing. The quality of the behavior of the people, these Indian chicks who are the boss of the white boys, listening to them. I mean, they couldn't even get a job in the real world, let alone get supervisory roles. You've been with Tacitus today, your Pushback channel. Thank you for listening.